Have you ever picked up your phone, scrolled through your contacts, and thought, why haven't they called? Maybe it's been weeks, or even months, since you last heard from your kids, your grandkids, or even old friends. And you start wondering, did I do something wrong? Are they just too busy? Have they forgotten about me? If that sounds familiar, let me tell you, you're not alone. So many people reach a point in life where those daily or even weekly calls from loved ones start to fade away. At first, you don't think much of it. You tell yourself, they're busy. Life gets hectic. But then the days turn into weeks. The silence stretches on. And suddenly, you realize that your world feels smaller. But here's the thing. Your happiness, your sense of fulfillment, it doesn't have to depend on how often your phone rings. In fact, you have more control over your own joy than you might think. That's what we're going to talk about today. How to stay happy, how to feel fulfilled, and how to build a life that you enjoy, whether your family calls every day, once a month, or hardly at all. Let's start with something really important. Your worth is not measured by how often someone checks in on you. Read that again. Say it out loud if you need to. Because it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, if they really loved me, they'd call. If I mattered to them, they'd make time. But love isn't always measured in phone calls. It's not always shown in texts or visits. Think about it. When you were younger, how many times did you mean to call someone but got distracted? Maybe you were working, raising kids, managing a house. You loved your parents, your aunts and uncles, but days slipped by, and before you knew it, it had been too long. That doesn't mean you didn't care. It just means life pulled you in different directions. Now, I know that understanding this doesn't necessarily make it easier. But it does help shift the perspective. Instead of assuming the worst, that they don't care or don't think of you, it helps to realize that they are living their own lives, just as you once did. But that's only part of it. Because the real question is, what do you do with this time? If you spend it waiting, watching the clock, hoping the phone will ring, you're giving your happiness away. Instead, what if you use this time to build something new? Something just for you? Here's where it gets exciting. Imagine waking up each day with something to look forward to, regardless of whether anyone calls. Imagine filling your days with things that bring you joy. It could be learning something new, reconnecting with an old passion, or even stepping outside of your comfort zone to meet new people. Have you ever thought about joining a local group or community? Maybe a book club, an art class, or even a walking group at the park. It might feel a little intimidating at first, but remember, every person in that group joined for the same reason, to connect. To find something meaningful. You're not alone in wanting companionship and purpose. And what about the things you've always wanted to try but never had the time for? Maybe you used to love painting but stopped years ago. Maybe you've always wanted to learn a new language or play a musical instrument. Maybe you've dreamed of writing a book or starting a small hobby business. The beauty of this stage in life is that time is yours now. It's not filled with work deadlines or school schedules or raising kids. It's yours to shape in whatever way makes you happiest. And let's not forget something incredibly powerful, giving back. Have you ever noticed how good it feels to help someone else? Volunteering, mentoring, even something as simple as offering a kind word to a stranger, it fills you up in a way that nothing else can. Because when you give, you receive. And suddenly, you're not waiting for someone to fill your cup, you're filling it yourself. Now, maybe you're thinking, but I just miss my family. I want to hear their voices. I want to feel included in their lives. That's completely valid. And there are ways to encourage those connections without feeling like you're begging for their time. One of the best things you can do is to reach out, not with guilt, not with complaints, but with warmth. A simple, hey, I was just thinking about you and wanted to say hi. No need to call back if you're busy, I just wanted you to know I love you. That kind of message? It doesn't pressure them. It doesn't make them feel bad. It just reminds them that you're there. And more often than not, it does bring them back. And if you don't hear back right away, that's okay. You've planted the seed. You've opened the door. In the meantime, your happiness isn't on hold. You're still living, still thriving, still creating a life that brings you joy, regardless of who picks up the phone. Because at the end of the day, that's what truly matters. Not waiting. Not longing. But living. Fully. Boldly. Joyfully. And that's exactly what we're going to dive into next. Now, let's talk about something that might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but is absolutely necessary: letting go of expectations. When we expect things from others, whether it's a phone call, a visit, or even just a simple "how are you?", we unknowingly set ourselves up for disappointment. Think about it. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "They should call me more often"? Or, "If they really cared, they would check in on me"? It's natural to feel this way. After all, we've spent years taking care of our families, making sacrifices, and always being there for them. So when the effort isn't returned in the way we hoped, it can feel unfair. Even painful. But here's the truth: expectations can become emotional chains. They tie us to frustration, sadness, and resentment. And the longer we hold on to them, the heavier they feel. Now, this doesn't mean you should stop caring or that you should accept being ignored. But what if, instead of expecting, you simply allowed people to come to you when they were ready? Allowed relationships to ebb and flow naturally. Allowed yourself to find joy in your life, regardless of what others do or don't do. Because here's the thing: when you let go of expectations, you free yourself. You reclaim your peace. And ironically, this often strengthens relationships rather than weakens them. Why? Because when people feel they are loved without pressure, they are more likely to come back on their own. Think about the relationships in your life that feel easy. The ones where you don't have to constantly remind someone to check in. Those relationships feel good because they aren't built on obligation. They are built on mutual care. And when you let go of rigid expectations, you make space for that kind of love to grow. So how do you do this in a practical way? One of the best things you can do is shift your mindset. Instead of focusing on what isn't happening, focus on what is. Instead of saying, "They never call," try thinking, "I love them no matter what, and I trust that they love me too, in their own way." Does it change everything overnight? No. But it does change you. It softens the weight on your heart. It allows you to embrace life with openness instead of resentment. And here's another powerful shift: redefine what connection looks like. We often think that connection only happens through long phone calls or in-person visits. But in today's world, there are so many ways to stay close to people, even from a distance. Have you ever considered sending a short voice message instead of waiting for a call? A simple "just thinking about you. Hope you're having a great day" can go a long way. No expectations for a reply. Just warmth. Just love. Or what about writing letters? Yes, the old-fashioned kind. There's something deeply personal about receiving a handwritten note, something text messages can't quite capture. And here's the beautiful part: when you send love out into the world, it has a way of coming back to you. And let's not forget about social media. Now, I know, some people feel like technology is too complicated or not for them. But the truth is, platforms like Facebook or WhatsApp can be an easy way to stay in the loop. Even if you don't post, simply seeing updates from family and leaving a quick comment, that looks amazing. So happy for you. Keeps you connected in small but meaningful ways. The goal here isn't to force connection. It's to allow connection in new ways. It's to stop chasing love and start recognizing the different ways it shows up in your life. And while we're on the topic of connection, let's talk about something even deeper: the connection you have with yourself. Because at the end of the day, the longest relationship you will ever have is the one you have with you. So how do you nurture that relationship? How do you make your own company feel fulfilling? Start by asking yourself, what truly makes me happy? Not what made you happy 20 years ago. not what society tells you should make you happy. But right now, in this season of life, what brings you joy? Maybe it's nature. The feeling of fresh air on your skin, the sound of birds in the morning. Maybe it's music, the songs that bring back memories, or even discovering new ones that make you feel alive. Maybe it's movement, stretching, walking, dancing, whatever makes you feel good in your body. Or maybe it's creativity. Writing, painting, gardening, cooking. These aren't just hobbies, they're ways of expressing yourself, of filling your time with things that bring you joy, independent of anyone else. Because when you start enjoying your own company, something magical happens. Loneliness fades. Peace grows. And instead of waiting for others to bring happiness to you, you create it yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. Now, what about the relationships that are still active in your life? The people who do reach out, even if not as often as you'd like? It's so easy to focus on what's missing that we sometimes forget to appreciate what's still there. So the next time someone does call or send a message, make it count. Be present. Instead of thinking, why don't they do this more often, simply enjoy the moment for what it is. And more importantly, make your time together positive. No guilt tripping. No complaining about how long it's been. Just warmth, love, and laughter. Because when people associate talking to you with feeling good, they'll naturally want to do it more. So, as we continue this journey together, remember this: you are not alone. Your life is valuable, meaningful, and full of opportunities for joy. And the best part? That joy is in your hands. Let's keep going. And here's something important to remember: happiness isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create. Too often, we wait for external circumstances to bring us joy. We think, I'll be happy when my kids call more often. Or I'll feel fulfilled if my family makes more time for me. But what if happiness wasn't about waiting for someone else? What if it was something you could tap into right now, no matter what's happening around you? This is where one of the most powerful mindset shifts comes in: finding fulfillment in your own life, on your own terms. Let's talk about fulfillment for a moment. What does that word mean to you? For some, it means feeling a deep sense of purpose. For others, it's about simple contentment, waking up each day and knowing there's something to look forward to. So how do you cultivate that feeling? How do you build a life that feels rich and rewarding, even when the people you love aren't always as present as you'd like? One way is by investing in yourself. Think about it. When was the last time you tried something new? Something just for you? Maybe it's a hobby you've always wanted to pick up but never had time for. Painting, photography, learning a new language. Maybe it's joining a local group, a book club, a gardening club, a walking group. Because here's the truth: when you expand your world, your happiness expands with it. And this doesn't mean filling your time just for the sake of it. It means doing things that make you feel alive. Have you ever met someone who's so passionate about what they do that their energy is contagious? They could be talking about something as simple as baking bread, but their enthusiasm makes you want to listen for hours. That's what happens when we engage with life instead of waiting for it to happen to us. And it's never too late to start. In fact, some of the happiest, most fulfilled people are the ones who reinvent themselves later in life. The ones who decide that their best years aren't behind them, they're happening right now. So, ask yourself, what excites me? What sparks my curiosity? Maybe it's travel, not necessarily big, expensive trips, but simply exploring new places, even in your own city. Maybe it's learning technology, not just to stay connected with family, but because you enjoy the challenge of mastering something new. Or maybe it's storytelling, writing down your memories, sharing your experiences with others. Because believe me, your stories matter. And speaking of stories, here's something fascinating. Studies have shown that people who share their knowledge and experiences feel a greater sense of purpose. So, what wisdom do you have that could help someone else? Maybe it's advice about life, relationships, or the lessons you've learned over the years. Maybe it's simply being a good listener for someone who needs it. Because the truth is, fulfillment often comes from giving, not just in the traditional sense, but in the way we show up in the world. The way we connect. The way we make a difference, even in small ways. And here's something else to think about: gratitude. Now, you might be thinking, of course, I know gratitude is important. But let's take it a step further. Have you ever actively practiced gratitude in a way that changed your mood? Try this. Before you go to bed tonight, think of 3 good things that happened today. They don't have to be big. It could be as simple as, I had a really good cup of coffee this morning. I got some fresh air and felt the sun on my face. I had a moment of peace and quiet to myself. What this does is train your brain to focus on what's going right instead of what's missing. And when you make this a habit, something incredible happens: your perspective shifts. You start noticing the little joys in life, the ones that were always there but may have gone unnoticed. Because let's be honest, life is never perfect. There will always be things we wish were different. But when we choose to focus on what's good, we create a life that feels richer, fuller, and more meaningful. So, the question is, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on what you don't have, or are you making the choice to celebrate what you do? Because at the end of the day, happiness isn't about waiting for circumstances to change. It's about finding joy in the here and now. And when you do that, when you embrace life on your terms, you'll find that fulfillment was never something outside of you. It was always within you, waiting to be unlocked. So, let's keep going. And as we continue this journey, let's talk about something that makes a huge difference in how you experience life: connection. Now, you might be thinking, but wait, isn't that the whole problem? My family isn't calling, and I feel disconnected. That's understandable. When the people you love aren't reaching out as often as you'd like, it's easy to feel isolated. But here's the truth: connection isn't just about family. It's about the way you engage with the world around you. Think about it. Have you ever had a brief conversation with a stranger that left you smiling for the rest of the day? Maybe it was a kind cashier at the grocery store or a neighbor who waved at you during their morning walk. These little moments of human connection might seem small, but they have a big impact on our well-being. And when we open ourselves up to new connections, something incredible happens: we start feeling less alone. Now, you might be wondering, but how do I do that? Where do I even start? It's easier than you think. It starts with one simple shift: being open. When you go out into the world with an open heart, when you make eye contact, smile, and say hello, you invite connection into your life. Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to attract good energy? They have this warmth about them, this ease that makes others want to talk to them. That's not luck, it's a mindset. And the best part? It's something you can cultivate, too. Now, this doesn't mean you have to suddenly become a social butterfly or fill your schedule with endless activities. But it does mean being intentional about putting yourself in situations where connection can happen. Maybe it's striking up a conversation with someone at the park. Maybe it's joining a class or attending a local event. Maybe it's even reconnecting with an old friend you haven't spoken to in years. Because here's the thing: everyone craves connection. You're not alone in feeling this way. There are people out there right now who would love to have someone like you in their lives. They just haven't met you yet. And sometimes, the best connections come from the most unexpected places. For example, have you ever tried volunteering? It's one of the most powerful ways to build relationships while making a difference. Think about it: when you volunteer, you're surrounded by like-minded people who share your values. People who want to connect, who want to give back, just like you do. And the best part? It fills your life with meaning. Because when we shift our focus from who's not calling me to who can I show up for today, everything changes. Suddenly, life feels richer, fuller, more purposeful. And speaking of purpose, have you ever noticed that some people seem to thrive as they get older? They wake up each day with energy, enthusiasm, and a sense of direction. What's their secret? It's not money. It's not luck. It's not even health, though that helps. It's having something to look forward to, something that excites them, something that gives them a reason to get up in the morning. So, what's your reason? Maybe it's a creative pursuit, painting, writing, music. Maybe it's a new skill, learning to cook a different cuisine, playing an instrument, or even starting a small business. Maybe it's as simple as having a daily routine that brings you joy. Whatever it is, it matters. Because when you have a sense of purpose, loneliness takes a back seat. You stop waiting for others to fill your time because your life is already full. And the best part? When you start living with joy and passion, people are naturally drawn to you. Your energy shifts. Your outlook changes. And suddenly, you are no longer waiting for connection, you are creating it. So, let's keep moving forward. And as you step into this new way of thinking, something interesting starts to happen. You begin to realize that your happiness isn't tied to other people's actions. It's not about whether your phone rings today. It's not about waiting for someone else to remember you. It's about you. It's about how you choose to experience each day. Now, that doesn't mean ignoring the sadness that sometimes comes with feeling forgotten. That feeling is real. It hurts. And it's okay to acknowledge it. But here's what's even more powerful, not letting that feeling define you. Because loneliness is just an emotion. And like all emotions, it comes and goes. But you are so much more than a passing feeling. So, let's talk about something that can truly transform the way you experience life, gratitude. Now, I know, you've probably heard this before. Be grateful. Count your blessings. But this isn't just some cliché advice, it's backed by science. Studies have shown that people who practice daily gratitude feel happier, more fulfilled, and even healthier. And the best part? It's so simple to do. Imagine waking up in the morning and, before even getting out of bed, taking a moment to appreciate 3 things. Maybe it's the sound of birds outside your window. Maybe it's the warmth of your blanket. Maybe it's the simple fact that you're alive today, with another chance to experience something new. It doesn't have to be big. In fact, the smallest moments often bring the greatest joy. Because when we focus on what we do have, instead of what we don't, life starts to feel different. And something magical happens, we become magnets for more good things. Have you ever met someone who just radiates positive energy? Someone who, no matter what's happening in their life, always seems to find something to smile about. That's not luck. That's a habit. A mindset. And it's a habit you can build, too. Try this. Each day, write down 3 things that made you smile. It could be a kind stranger, a beautiful sunset, or even the feeling of a warm cup of tea in your hands. The more you do this, the more you train your brain to see the good around you. And when you start seeing the good, you start feeling good. It's a simple shift, but it's powerful. Because here's the truth, happiness isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create. And no matter what's going on in your life, you have the power to create it. So, what would happen if you started each day with gratitude? If you made it a habit to look for beauty in the ordinary? What if, instead of waiting for happiness to find you, you went out and found it? It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? And the best part? It's completely within your reach. So, let's keep going. And as you begin to embrace gratitude, something incredible starts to shift, not just in your mind, but in your entire life. You start noticing things you used to overlook. The way the morning sunlight streams through your window. The laughter of children playing in the distance. The simple pleasure of a favorite song coming on the radio. Suddenly, the world feels full again. But there's something else, something just as important. Because while gratitude can fill your heart, there's another powerful force that can bring deep, lasting fulfillment, connection. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But what if my family isn't reaching out? What if my calls go unanswered? Here's the thing, connection doesn't have to come only from family. Yes, it's natural to want your children or grandchildren to check in. It's natural to miss those daily chats or family gatherings. But if they're not happening as often as you'd like, that doesn't mean you have to sit and wait, feeling disconnected. Because the truth is, there are so many ways to build meaningful relationships. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger that made your day? Maybe it was a kind cashier at the store, a neighbor passing by, or even someone you met in a waiting room. Those small moments of connection, they matter. And when you seek them out, you open yourself up to a whole new world of possibilities. So here's a question: when was the last time you reached out to someone? Not just family, but a friend, an old colleague, or even a friendly face from your community. Because connection works both ways. Sometimes, people don't reach out, not because they don't care, but because life gets busy. But that doesn't mean they wouldn't love to hear from you. So why not be the one to take the first step? A simple message, a quick phone call, even an invitation for coffee, it can make all the difference. And if you're not sure who to reach out to, why not create new connections? Join a local group. Take a class. Volunteer. Because when you put yourself in spaces where connection naturally happens, you'll be amazed at how many wonderful people are out there, just waiting to share a conversation, a laugh, or even a new friendship. And here's the most beautiful part: when you open yourself up to connection, life starts to feel richer. Because humans aren't meant to be isolated. We thrive in relationships. We need moments of shared joy, shared stories, shared understanding. And the good news? Those moments are everywhere if you're willing to seek them out. So, as you go about your day, ask yourself this: who can I connect with today? And when you do, when you take that small step towards someone, you might just find that they were looking for connection, too. And together, you'll create something truly special. So let's keep going. And as you begin to reach out, something remarkable happens. You start feeling lighter, more engaged, more alive. Because connection isn't just about filling the silence. It's about feeling seen, feeling valued, feeling like you matter. And you do. But let's take this a step further. Because while reaching out to others is a powerful way to bring joy into your life, there's another secret to feeling fulfilled: having something to look forward to. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how excited kids get when a birthday or holiday is coming up? They count down the days, imagining the fun, the surprises, the joy that awaits them. That same feeling of anticipation? It doesn't have to disappear as we get older. In fact, it's one of the best ways to bring happiness back into your life. So here's a question: what's something you're looking forward to right now? If nothing immediately comes to mind, don't worry. The good news is, you can create things to look forward to. It doesn't have to be anything grand. It could be as simple as planning a special meal for yourself, taking a day trip to a place you love, or even starting a new book you've been meaning to read. The key is to give yourself something to anticipate, something that makes waking up each morning feel exciting. Because when you have little joys sprinkled throughout your week, life feels full again. Maybe it's a weekly coffee date with a friend. Maybe it's a creative hobby, painting, gardening, knitting, even learning a new skill. Maybe it's signing up for a class, joining a community group, or finding a way to share your wisdom with others. Because here's the truth: you are not meant to sit on the sidelines of life. You still have so much to experience, so much to give, so much to enjoy. And when you start filling your days with things that excite you, that bring you joy, whether or not your phone rings, whether or not your family checks in, you begin to realize something powerful. Your happiness is in your hands. And that is true freedom. Because while it's wonderful to feel loved by others, the most important love you can cultivate is the love you have for your own life. So ask yourself, what can I plan this week that will bring me joy? And then, make it happen. Because you deserve to wake up excited for the day ahead. And when you do, life suddenly feels a whole lot more beautiful. Let's keep going. And as you start filling your days with things that bring you joy, something incredible happens. You begin to reconnect with yourself in a way you might not have felt in years. Because here's the thing: when family stops calling as often, it can feel like a loss. Like a part of your identity has shifted. Maybe you've spent decades taking care of others, your children, your spouse, your loved ones. And when that role changes, it can leave you wondering, what now? But here's the truth, this chapter of your life isn't about waiting for someone to bring happiness to you. It's about creating it for yourself. And one of the most powerful ways to do that? Rediscovering what makes you feel alive. Think about when you were younger. Before responsibilities, before the weight of expectations, before life got so busy. What were the things that made you light up inside? Maybe you loved music, playing an instrument, singing, or even just dancing around your living room. Maybe you were an artist at heart, sketching, painting, or crafting. Maybe you had a passion for learning, diving into books, exploring new ideas, or trying new skills. Whatever it was, it's still inside you. That part of you never disappeared. It's just been waiting for you to turn your attention back to it. So why not explore again? Pick up that old hobby. Try something new. Give yourself permission to play, to create, to learn. Because life is not meant to be lived in the past, dwelling on who used to call or how things used to be. It's meant to be experienced, fully and completely, right now. And when you start living with that mindset, when you stop focusing on what's missing and instead focus on what you can do, life begins to open up in ways you never expected. Because fulfillment doesn't come from waiting. It comes from engaging. And when you engage with life, when you start embracing the things that bring you happiness, you become a magnet for new connections, new experiences, new joys. You might meet people who share your interests. You might discover a hidden talent you never knew you had. You might find that the simple act of doing something for yourself brings a level of happiness you didn't even realize you were missing. And do you know what happens then? You stop worrying about who's calling, and instead, you start feeling excited about your own journey. Because this chapter of your life? It's yours to write. So what will you do with it? Let's keep going. And as you take that first step toward rediscovering what makes you feel alive, something shifts inside you. It's almost as if a weight you've been carrying, a weight of expectations, of waiting, of longing, begins to lift. Because here's the truth that no one really talks about, happiness doesn't come from other people remembering you. It comes from you remembering yourself. When you start embracing life again, when you stop defining your happiness by who calls or who doesn't, you start realizing that fulfillment isn't something given to you, it's something you create. And part of that fulfillment comes from finding new ways to connect. Maybe the people who used to call are busy with their own lives, but that doesn't mean your social life has to slow down. This is your opportunity to build a new network of people who get you, who share your interests, who bring fresh energy into your world. So where do you start? Think about something that excites you, something that makes you curious, something you've always wanted to try. Maybe it's a local class, a group, an online community. Maybe it's volunteering for a cause that means something to you. Because when you put yourself out there, even in small ways, you give yourself the chance to meet people who are also looking for connection. And guess what? Those connections can be just as meaningful, just as fulfilling, as the ones you had before. In fact, sometimes they're even better. Because these are relationships built on choice, not obligation. These are people who want to be in your life, who share your interests, who add something new instead of simply reminding you of what's changed. And when you open yourself up to new connections, something beautiful happens. You start to realize that your life isn't shrinking, it's expanding. That sense of loneliness that once felt so heavy? It starts to fade. Not because your family suddenly starts calling every day, but because you stop waiting for them to. Instead, you fill your days with things that bring you joy. With conversations that make you laugh. With people who make you feel valued. And do you know what often happens when you're thriving? The people in your life, the ones you used to wait for, start noticing. They see the change in you. They see you happy, engaged, living your life. And suddenly, those calls you used to wish for, they start coming in again. Not because you begged for them. Not because you sat around feeling forgotten. But because you chose yourself first. So take that step. Put yourself out there. Find the people, the places, the experiences that make you feel alive. Because this life, it's yours. And it's meant to be lived fully. And when you embrace that, when you truly step into the joy of your own company, your own passions, your own adventure, everything else has a way of falling into place. Let's keep going. And as you continue to embrace this new chapter, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop seeing silence as loneliness. Instead, it becomes space, space to reflect, space to grow, space to do the things you've always put off because life was too busy before. Think about it. How often do we wait for permission to enjoy life? We tell ourselves, I'll start when I have more time, or I'll do it when the kids don't need me as much. Well, that time is now. This is your chance to redefine what happiness looks like for you. Not based on what it used to be. Not based on what others expect. But based on what genuinely makes you feel good in this moment. And sometimes, that means falling in love with the simple things again. Waking up and stretching your body, feeling grateful for the movement you do have. Taking a slow morning walk, breathing in the fresh air, listening to the sounds around you. Making a cup of tea, reading a book that excites you, watching a movie that makes you laugh out loud. It's about replacing the habit of waiting with the habit of living. Because when you start finding joy in these small moments, something inside you shifts. You stop looking outside for happiness. You realize it's been within you all along. But that doesn't mean you should isolate yourself. One of the most powerful ways to stay fulfilled, especially when family stops calling, is to create your own support system. That might mean reaching out to old friends you haven't spoken to in a while. Sending a simple message, "Hey, I was thinking about you today. How have you been?" Sometimes, that one message is all it takes to reopen a door you thought was closed. And if you don't have those old connections, that's okay, too. There are people right now who would love to know you. People who are also looking for friendship, laughter, conversation. You just have to be willing to take the first step. Join a local group that interests you. Attend community events. Even something as simple as going to the same cafe every morning and smiling at familiar faces can lead to new friendships over time. Because the truth is, connection isn't just about who we've known the longest. It's about who makes us feel seen, heard, valued. And the beautiful thing? The more you invest in your happiness, the more people naturally gravitate toward you. That energy, of someone who is truly enjoying life, it's magnetic. So instead of waiting for the phone to ring, start creating the moments that make you excited to wake up in the morning. Because you deserve that. You deserve more than waiting. You deserve to thrive. And when you embrace that truth, when you start filling your life with things that bring you joy, that's when everything changes. Let's keep moving forward. And as you continue forward, something else starts to become clear. You're no longer looking for happiness from others. Instead, you're cultivating it within yourself. It's a shift that brings a sense of freedom. No longer tied to expectations, no longer waiting for a call to validate your worth. You begin to realize that your joy isn't dependent on someone remembering to check in, it's built on the choices you make every single day. And one of the most powerful choices? Finding new purpose. Because let's be honest, so much of life has been about taking care of others. Whether it was raising children, supporting a spouse, or dedicating yourself to a career, you've spent years prioritizing the needs of everyone else. But what about you? What happens when the people you once centered your life around become busy with their own? For many, that transition can feel empty. Like something is missing. But in reality, it's not about losing purpose, it's about rediscovering it. This is your opportunity to lean into the things that light you up. Maybe that means volunteering, sharing your time and wisdom with others who would deeply appreciate it. Maybe it's learning something new, taking up a hobby you've always been curious about. Maybe it's starting a creative project, or even mentoring someone who could benefit from your experience. It doesn't have to be something grand. It just has to be something that gives your days meaning beyond waiting. Because when you wake up with a sense of purpose, something magical happens. You no longer measure your happiness by how often someone else reaches out. Instead, you measure it by how full your life feels. And the best part? That fulfillment creates momentum. Suddenly, you find yourself with more energy, more enthusiasm. You start looking forward to your days instead of feeling like they're passing by unnoticed. And the irony? That shift does get noticed. People, your family included, start to see the change in you. They sense your newfound confidence, your sense of joy. And more often than not, that energy draws them back in. Because the truth is, relationships are like a dance. When we stand still, waiting, the other person moves away. But when we keep moving, living, thriving, others naturally fall into step with us. So if you've been feeling like you're fading into the background, like your presence doesn't matter as much as it used to, know this: you are not invisible. You are still you. And your happiness is still yours to create. So, let's keep going. And as you step further into this mindset, something else begins to shift. You stop seeing your days as something to get through and start seeing them as something to experience. Because here's the truth: waiting for others to bring joy into your life is like waiting for the weather to be perfect before you step outside. You'll miss out on too much. Happiness isn't something that arrives on your doorstep, it's something you invite in. And one of the simplest, yet most powerful ways to do that? Surround yourself with people who lift you up. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean making a whole new group of friends overnight. It simply means paying attention to where you're investing your energy. Are you spending time with people who bring out the best in you? People who make you laugh, who inspire you, who leave you feeling lighter instead of drained. Because here's the thing: connection doesn't have to come from the people you've always known. Sometimes, the most meaningful relationships come from unexpected places. Maybe it's the neighbor you always exchange small talk with, but never truly get to know. Maybe it's the person you see every week at the grocery store, the one who always has a kind word to say. Maybe it's someone from a class, a community group, or even an online space that shares your interests. The point is, there are people out there who would love to know you. And when you start showing up, whether it's through conversations, shared activities, or simply being open to new connections, something beautiful happens. You realize that you are not alone. That even when certain relationships fade or change, there is still so much love and warmth waiting for you. And the best part? These new connections don't just fill the space left by others, they expand your life in ways you never expected. So if you've been feeling disconnected, if you've been longing for a sense of belonging, take this as your sign to step forward. Say yes to that invitation. Strike up that conversation. Allow yourself to be seen. Because when you do, something incredible happens. Life starts to feel full again. And as you embrace that fullness, as you let go of the weight of waiting, you begin to see happiness isn't something that's given to you. It's something you create. And you, my friend, deserve it. So let's keep going. And as you continue down this path, something remarkable starts to happen. You begin to feel a sense of freedom. Freedom from expectations, from disappointment, from the weight of waiting for something outside of yourself to bring you happiness. Because here's what's truly liberating: realizing that your life is yours to shape. When you stop placing your joy in the hands of others, you gain the ability to redefine what fulfillment looks like for you. Maybe it's through learning something new, something you've always been curious about but never had the time or confidence to pursue. Maybe it's picking up a paintbrush for the first time, or planting a garden and watching it grow. Maybe it's diving into a book that transports you to another world, or even writing your own stories. Or maybe it's something even simpler: taking a walk each morning and letting the fresh air remind you that each day is a new beginning. Whatever it is, the key is to follow what lights you up. Because when you do, you begin to experience something truly magical. You stop seeing life as something that's slipping away and start seeing it as something that's still unfolding. And that's the beautiful truth: no matter your age, no matter what has changed, there are still so many moments left to live. You are not just filling time. You are living. And when you embrace that, you send a message to yourself, to the world, that you are still here. Not waiting. Not longing. But thriving. And as you carry that energy forward, as you continue to choose yourself, you begin to notice something unexpected. The love you've been searching for? The connection you've been missing? It starts to find you. Because when you show up for life, life shows up for you. And that is the most beautiful gift of all. And in that moment, something shifts. You realize that happiness was never about someone else making time for you. It was never about waiting for the phone to ring or hoping for an invitation that may never come. It was always about you. About what you choose to do with the time you have. About the way you show up for yourself. Because here's the truth, when you start living with joy, when you embrace each day with curiosity and gratitude, people notice. They see the light in your eyes, the energy in your step, the way you carry yourself with confidence and purpose. And that energy? It's magnetic. Suddenly, instead of longing for connection, you create it. You attract it. A neighbor who once only waved in passing now stops for a conversation. A fellow walker at the park recognizes your routine and starts to say hello. A friend you lost touch with years ago suddenly reaches out. And maybe, just maybe, your family starts to notice too. Not because you demanded their attention. Not because you reminded them of how long it's been since they last called. But because they feel the shift in you. They see that you are not waiting, not hoping, not placing your happiness in their hands. You are living. Fully. And that, more than anything, draws people in. So if you ever find yourself wondering, why don't they call? Why don't they visit? Stop. Instead, ask yourself, what am I doing today that brings me joy? Because at the end of the day, that's what truly matters. Not the number of calls you receive, but the way you feel when you wake up each morning. Not the amount of time others spend with you, but the way you choose to spend your time. Because this is your life. And you deserve to make it a beautiful one. And so, as you take that deep breath and step into this new chapter, remember this, you are enough. With or without the phone calls. With or without the invitations. With or without anyone else's approval or attention. Your worth is not measured by how often others reach out. It is not determined by the number of visits, messages, or reminders that you exist. Your worth is found in you, in the way you choose to embrace each day, in the joy you create for yourself, in the love and kindness you pour into the world, regardless of who is watching. There is so much life left to live. So many new moments waiting for you. Not in the past, not in the regrets, not in the longing, but right now. So go out and find the things that make you feel alive. Explore, create, connect, and laugh. Laugh like you did when you were young, before the world convinced you that happiness had to come from someone else. Because it never did. It was always within you. And now, you are finally ready to embrace it. So here's to you, strong, independent, and full of life. Here's to your happiness, your fulfillment, your freedom. No more waiting. No more wondering. Just living. Because, my friend, this is your time. That's the end of this journey together, but really, it's just the beginning for you. You've got everything you need to create a life that's rich, meaningful, and full of joy, whether the phone rings or not. If this message spoke to you, if it gave you even a little spark of hope or a new way of looking at things, then I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. What resonated with you the most? Have you found your own ways to stay happy and fulfilled? And if you haven't already, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're building a community of people who refuse to let age define their happiness, people just like you. Thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate you, I see you, and I believe in you. Now go and live fully. You deserve it.